For tens of thousands of people across the country, the key to living an independent life is an assistance dog. Now, in law, they're permitted to go wherever their owners do. But as you've been telling us, there's one particular service that is flouting the rules, leaving you and your essential companions stranded. Refused.
Are you going to take a dog?
What do you mean you're not going to take a dog? You can't say no.
Well, I can't, mate.
Rejected.
I don't like this dog, you know.
You don't like dogs?
No, yeah, it's like my food.
So when you...
Dirty, no.
It's not dirty.
Dismissed.
Just to clarify, you're not going to take me?
No, it's okay, but I'm not judging you, but you request another one.
While millions of us enjoyed problem-free taxi rides last year, the same can't be said for people who rely on assistance dogs, animals specially trained to help people with disabilities. Many assistance dog users tell us they face hostility from taxi drivers time and again. Bhavini Daniel from London has a degenerative eye condition which has left her almost completely blind. For the last year, Colin here has been helping her.
Straight on. It's lovely the way he's really kind of making sure that he sees exactly what's going on.
He walks to the side if something's sticking out, or he's trained to avoid obstacles so we don't bump into anything, uneven pavement or unexpected roadworks.
Yes.
When getting from A to B requires a bit more than paw power alone, Colin and Bhavini use trains and buses with relative ease. But after too many encounters like this...
It's a guide dog, they're trained.
Yeah, but it's an animal, yeah?
So he's a guide dog here. And are you saying you're refusing to take the guide dog?
Bhavini dreads having to book a minicab.
So what happens when a driver turns you down?
So I tell them when I book the cab that I've got a guide dog. Sometimes they'll turn me down and allocate a different driver. Sometimes they'll turn up, see that I've got a guide dog, and then either drive off or try and say to me that they're not going to accept me or my dog into their car. So once I was left in Croydon at 10 o'clock at night just because the driver wouldn't take me. Now, it just left me so vulnerable. I was scared, I was left stranded in a place that I'm not really familiar with. And to be honest, I was actually really, really scared.
I'm sure you were.
I was really scared that day.
Unlike pet dogs, which cab drivers can stop from travelling in their cars, it's against the law for them to refuse to carry assistance dogs. But according to Bhavini, some minicab drivers don't seem to grasp that.
Sometimes they don't understand that a guide dog is an assistance dog. They say, oh, it's dirty, or you may attack me, or they're scared of the dog. You try your best to explain.
I mean, I was about to say, there he is. He's behaving better than most humans, isn't he?
Like all assistance dogs, Colin is trained to behave really well. But that doesn't seem to matter to a lot of minicab drivers, including some of those whose cars carry the logo of perhaps the biggest name in the business, Uber.
I have a guide dog.
Bhavini says booking an Uber doesn't always go smoothly.
The driver knows I've got a guide dog now.
Let's see how he reacts, or she.
Yeah.
Message from driver. Sorry, can't take dog. It's executive car. Your driver has cancelled, but you'll be connected with another driver shortly.
So he's saying because it's an executive car, you can't take a dog. So that's basically an excuse.
Thankfully, we didn't have to wait too long for a second driver who did accept the job.
Based on this, we've got a 50% success rate. Is that normal?
Sometimes I have to wait for the fourth or fifth driver. So if this driver does accept, then that's actually quite great.
Do you ever actually think, oh, do you know what, I can't be bothered with taxis anymore?
Yeah, all the time.
What is crystal clear is the law when it comes to taxis and assistance dogs. There's only one reason drivers can refuse to take them: if they have a medical certificate proving they're allergic to dogs. But among all of Britain's 300,000 cab drivers, fewer than 240 have actually got one of those certificates, and this driver wasn't one of them.
And are you saying you're refusing to take the guide dog?
No, I don't say that.
Right.
I say I have an allergy from animals.
Okay, do you have your medical exemption certificate?
No.
That refusal was one too many for Bhavini.
So you followed it up with Uber. What was their response?
Just be rest assured that they'll look into it. The necessary action will be taken. And when I questioned what exactly is that, they couldn't tell me.
But you decided to take it further. So
Yes,
what did you do?
I got in contact with a TfL, the licensing body that comes out and sort of regulates drivers, and investigations happened, and the driver was actually prosecuted. But actually the day after, I had another refusal. So this issue is not going away.
Well, I find what happened in there extremely upsetting and really unfair. But unfortunately, it's not just Bhavini to whom this kind of thing happens.
A survey by the charity Guide Dogs UK revealed that 3/4 of guide dog users had been refused access to a cab at least once in the last year. But the number of drivers prosecuted for it in England in 2018 was tiny by comparison, just 21. Daniel Williams from Cardiff says being refused is an occupational hazard. Daniel has a degenerative eye condition. He's had his guide dog Zodiac for 2 years now. They travel all over the country for work, and Daniel says he and Zodiac have too often faced exactly the same reception as Bhavini and Colin.
Hi Dan, it's Julia here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
What's the situation like where you are?
I've been refused probably over 100 times with my guide dog. I travel all around the UK for work, so it's not just in one place, it's all over.
And it really is 100 times, you reckon?
Yeah, over 100 times, definitely, in the last 2 years.
Dan, do you think you could do us a favour and keep a video record of all the times that you're turned down in the next few weeks and get back to us, because that would be really useful?
Yeah, that would be great.
We'll see how Daniel and Zodiac fare a bit later. Of course, it's not just minicabs that turn away assistance dogs, but a survey by Guide Dogs UK found that they are more likely to do it than other businesses, including shops and restaurants. Kat Copperthwaite from the charity has been campaigning for the law to be better enforced.
It's punishable by an offence of up to £1,000, so it is a serious criminal offence. Lots of people just see it as, oh, it's a mild inconvenience, you can just order a new taxi, order a new minicab, but it's not. It has a huge impact on our guide dog owners' lives and other assistance dog owners' lives. We've heard from guide dog owners who've had to change their jobs because of this, especially guide dog owners who live in perhaps rural areas where there's not such a good public transport link.
What's your understanding of how much taxi drivers are actually trained when it comes to handling assistance dogs?
The government last February committed to introducing mandatory disability equality training as part of national minimum standards for all taxi and minicab drivers. That was a year ago, and unfortunately the government is still saying they'll do this when time allows, so we don't have a clear time frame on when it's going to be. So we would really ask the government to do it as soon as possible to prevent this discrimination.
Which is what it is.
It is, it's absolute discrimination, and it's a criminal offence.
As for Daniel, who we asked to keep a record of his taxi refusals, well, before he had to stop travelling due to the COVID-19 restrictions, he booked 7 separate Ubers over 2 weeks, and 4 of them either cancelled or refused to let Zodiac into the car.
I messaged the driver and tell him I've got a guide dog. He then decides to cancel on me. Another driver is allocated. He then decides to cancel on me as well. So 2 Uber drivers have just now cancelled on me. I'm going to miss the train, which means I'm going to be late for my appointments. Finally just got in a taxi, being refused by 1 Uber, and now I've got another one.
When we told Uber about what had happened to Bhavini and Daniel, it was categoric, saying it was totally unacceptable for drivers to refuse to take a guide dog. This was an obligation, it said. It made clear to all its drivers before they started and regularly reminded them. Any reports of this happening would be investigated, it added, and any of its drivers found to have refused a service animal would permanently lose access to its app. Which is good news, but hasn't done much to ease Bhavini's upset.
How does it make you feel to think that legally you were entitled to do something and you were not allowed to do it?
It's actually quite humiliating. It just makes you feel that a basic thing of accessing something that everybody else is, you're being denied just because you have a disability. I'm not asking for much at all, just for the law to be upheld.
Still to come,